Hi, my name is Ali Ortiz, and today I'm going to be teaching a lesson to fifth graders, incorporating the art element of value in a math lesson on finding the surface area. Okay guys, so this week we've been learning about surface area and finding the surface area of different figures. And just as a brief refresher of what the surface area is, we all know how to find the area of different two-dimensional figures, like a triangle or a square. So basically, when you're finding the surface area, you're finding the area of a three-dimensional object that has multiple sides. So how you do that is you find the area of each side, and then you add all the sides together, the areas of all the sides together, to get all of the area covered by the entire surface. That's the surface area. So today what we're going to do is work on visualizing what we're actually finding the area of. When you're told to find the area of a two-dimensional figure like a triangle or a square, it's pretty easy to think of exactly what you're going to be finding the area of because you've seen so many squares and triangles when you're doing math. But sometimes it's a little bit harder to think of the figure that you're finding the surface area for because even though you do see objects like cubes in your everyday life, it's a little bit harder to think of them in the mathematical sense because it's hard to visualize them on paper. So today what we're going to be doing is making three-dimensional objects on paper so you can better visualize what we're talking about when we're finding the surface area of different figures. Okay, so everyone should have a blank piece of white paper in front of them, as well as a black colored pencil. And what we're going to do is use shading to make a two-dimensional object appear to be three-dimensional. And so what this is value. And what value is using shading and different colors to create different shades of a color. Okay, so the first step in creating a three-dimensional object of a cube is writing or drawing a square. So everyone draw a square on your paper that looks just like this, just a regular square. Okay, so this doesn't look three-dimensional at all. So what we're going to do is the difference between a three-dimensional object and a two-dimensional object is that the three-dimensional object takes up space, and so something that takes up space has a shadow when a light is put on it. So what we're going to do is draw a little light coming in the direction of, shining in the direction of the object. So as you can see, there's a light and it's shining on this square. So if this square was three-dimensional, this side would be lighter and this side would be darker. Also, with a three-dimensional object, you can see more than one side when looking at it from the front. So we're going to draw all the sides that you can see. So for a cube, you can see one side, one of the front, one of the sides of the cube, and you can see the top of the cube. So as you can see here, you can see the front, one of the sides, and the top of the cube. And so that's how you can, it's starting to already look a little bit more three-dimensional here. But now we're going to draw in shadows or a value onto the side that you can't see very well. So this whole side is going to be dark because there is no light shining on this side. So everyone shade in that whole side. And then also there's a difference between the bottom of it and the top because this is getting a little bit more light because it's still closer to the light than this very bottom part. So we're going to make the bottom part darker, and so this is a darker shade of the color. So we're going to put that very dark. And then it gets slowly lighter as you get to the top. So it's an increasingly light shade of the dark black color. Okay, so this isn't the only side that's going to be darker. It's also going to be a little bit darker over here the further away we get from the light. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit dark and slowly getting lighter as it gets closer to the light. But remember, this side, this is not going to be as dark as the side that's furthest away from the light because it is still getting exposed to more light. So there you go. It's a little bit darker on this side, slowly getting lighter. We probably even want to color it in a little bit more than that. And also, it's a little bit darker on this side rather than over here because this is also further away from the light. Okay, so now you can see all the different values that are getting darker the further you get away from the light. But another thing it creates is there's a shadow of what the three-dimensional figure creates as it blocks the light. So we actually are going to draw the shadow that this cube would create if it really was blocking the light created. So it's going to be darkest right at the base of the box. It's almost an extension of how dark this shade is of the color that's at the very bottom of the box. And then it's going to get slowly and slowly lighter. The shade is going to get lighter because this is completely blocked out by the box, but more and more light is shown the further you get away from the box. So as you can see, this side is creating this shadow, but we need this needs to have a little bit of a shadow here too. So we're going to just extend that out a little bit. So now you can see that there's a shadow created by the box. So now you can tell that this is a cube, not a box, and it looks very three-dimensional. So we created a three-dimensional figure on a two-dimensional field using values and shading. So now, when you're trying to picture what a cube looks like when you're going to find the surface area, it is a lot easier for you to draw this and understand that there are 6 sides to this rather than 4, and you can visualize how they're different sizes. Like you can tell that this side of this box and this side of the box are the same because it's a square. So you can find the dimensions a lot more easily and find the surface area a lot more easily if you're able to envision this as a three-dimensional figure. Okay, so now that we've all drawn the cube together, you're going to work on the pyramids independently. And it's basically the same thing. You're going to start out with a triangle, and then you're going to draw a light in one of the corners. So we have a triangle with a light, and then I'll help you draw the lines. So you have, looks like a little bit pyramid here, and now everyone needs to draw the shadowing that they think this would create on their own. And remember, the further it is away from the light, the darker it's going to be. The darker the shade will be, and the darker the value of that color will be. Okay? Good job, everyone. Thank you.